I'd come to God on the dew still on the roof. And the voice I hear calling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and He walks with me and He talks with me. He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of His voice is so sweet. The birds hush their singing, and the melody gave to me within my heart is dreaming. And He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with Him, though the night around me is holy, but He bids me go, and the voice I know, His voice to me is holy. And He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
Good.
Thank you, David. If you'd like to, we can.
We light these candles hoping and believing that during this time our hearts will be open, our minds will feel happiness, that is peace.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, I'm not Reverend Kathy Quick, so she called in, said she was sick and unable to be here, and I thank everybody for braving the bike week traffic that's made the distance today. Got a bunch of phone calls while I was sitting back there saying that people were stuck and weren't gonna make it, so thank y'all for taking the time to get here. I guess I'll be the lecturer today. I got one or two things to say, so we'll do that. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the first hymn. Dear Father God, we give thanks for this moment, to be joined with those of like mind, to feel the love and hope given to us by this meeting, the love and hope given to God to this meeting, and may we feel that joy and share it with others. Amen. Well, today's a real first. First time a lecture is canceled in 3 years, and first time I didn't have any healers show up in 3 years. So batting 1,000 today.
We're here.
Yeah, all y'all's love and hope is definitely helping a lot today. The next portion of the service is a reading by the pastor where I speak about something that has happened to me this past week, and I put it into a spiritual perspective through one of the principles I'm trying to embrace in my life. Some of the things that occur through your life we have to set aside and not allow them to define us who we are as a spiritual being. Personal responsibility is at play in my life at all times. And what that means is that I am responsible for where I'm at, how I got here, and every decision I made. Whether it turned out the way I had thought it was going to or not, I made the decision to start down that path. And if you take personal responsibility, it doesn't mean you're responsible for everything that happens and everything everybody does once you start down that path. But take responsibility for deciding to walk down that path, and you find the freedom to get off that path if you don't want to be on it. So personal responsibility is like a double-edged sword. A lot of times we agree to do things and find ourselves halfway through it, really not wanting to be part of it. And there you come face to face with your feeling about yourself, your personal commitment, and your spiritual path. And sometimes you have to balance the two. Sometimes I like to say that human decency and kindness gets trampled in the herd of moral consciousness. So we have to always step back and see where God's at with all of this. Whenever we become confused or not sure of our direction, just take time to stop and feel God in your life. And if there's no conscious decision about what to do, don't do anything. Just be quiet, be silent. Without the ability to feel peace and harmony in your life, you can't make any reasonable decisions. Always take time to include God, and things will work out as good as they can. Again, you have to remember that the things that occur in your life aren't necessarily an indication of you as a spiritual being. Sometimes there are things that are indispensable to our spiritual progress that we have to face. It's not something we've done to draw it into our lives. It's not something we deserve. It's something that God has put there for us to deal with. It's indispensable to our personal development. Most of the things we encounter are by our decision, but not all of them. So just remember that sometimes you just faced with something you have to deal with, and deal with it the best you can. That's when we find a true test of what we believe about ourselves and we believe about our connection to God. Sometimes you have this thought come into your mind and it's a spiritual thought and you go, it can't be that simple. That can't be the way I'm supposed to handle this. But simplicity is a direct indication of God's touch in your mind, because truth is simple. God's will is simple. We make it complicated. So when it just doesn't seem like that's the way I should do it, maybe I'll give that a second look. Thank you. I'm going to have Ashkhen do the remainder of the service because she's going to move into doing the...
Well, good morning. In case if you don't know me, I am Ashkhen. Welcome to our service this morning. Our service is comprised of three parts. The first part is the healing meditation. The second is the inspirational lecture. And third, the demonstration of the spiritual gifts. We want to start with the healing portion of the service with guided meditation. We will not have hands-on healing today because none of the healers are here, so I will be leading you with guided meditation. You can just find a comfortable position to sit where there is no tension on your physical body. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. While you breathe in and out, allow your body to relax. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel your breath taking you deeper within. yourself gently. I am at peace within, with my surroundings. Sensations flowing throughout your body, your mind, your spirit. While you are breathing, feel your consciousness shifting higher, higher to your forehead. And look up above your head. Become aware of a golden presence that is way up above your physical body. This is your higher self, your perfect self that is emerging with the presence of God. God the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Connect to this presence and become one. There are no thoughts in this higher state of consciousness. It is a pure state of being. Connect with this presence. Breathe with this higher state of consciousness, the heightened state of awareness. Feel the peacefulness and the stillness of your consciousness. Feel the vibrations from your higher consciousness flowing down to your crown chakra. Healing and clearing your mental body. as you release and let go of all the thoughts that are blocking and limiting your highest potentials. Feel this energy cleansing your mental body. Activating your creativity. That serves the highest good of all and the highest good of yourself. Feel this golden energy surrounding your forehead, in and around your forehead, moving down to the back of your head, activating your spiritual senses, activating your pituitary glands, your pineal glands, enabling you to see, hear, and feel. Feel this golden energy flowing throughout your body, down to your lower body, circulating around your heart chakra. Feel your heart being filled with infinite love. The infinite love of God. While you breathe, feel your heart chakra expanding and contracting. Feel the energy circulating within your heart and awakening you to God's unconditional love and compassion. And the energy moving down, spiraling down to your lower body, to your knees, to your feet. See it going out through the bottom of your feet, extending deep into the ground, anchoring you to the earth. Feel your body has become totally relaxed, and your mind is quiet. See your body's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual are aligned in a straight line up to your higher self. To your golden presence. To your perfect Ask your higher self to be in charge always. With your actions and interactions with others. Let it be of the highest good, the highest good of all. Focus on this stillness and quietness. As you start coming back to your physical body, know that connection is always there. Become aware of your physical senses. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And be here. Our lecturer today is going to be Reverend Steve Adkins, and instead of Kathy Quick. She is sick, she couldn't make it. We all know who Reverend Steve is. In case if we don't know, he's the pastor of our church, and he's here every Sunday. Please just welcome our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins.
Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
As I look around, I see we've got about half the people we normally have here, but I honor everyone who came here, as I believe that God personally invites people to the sessions that we have. So you have been personally invited by God here, and I honor that, and you made your way here, so thank you for hearing the call of God today. While it is half the number we normally have, it's 3 times the number we had for the first 6 months we had the church open, so it just depends on how you want to look at it, you know. So thank you again for taking time to brave Bike Week and answer the call of God to be here. I'm going to speak a little bit today about spiritualist philosophy. It's primarily the theory of co-development. There's 3 methods of development in the world today. One is singular, where I, myself, am my own greatest authority, and I am the only one that guides my life. Most atheists or agnostics believe like that, and it gets them by fine. I got a brother that's a pure atheist, and he believes when you die, you're dust and nothing more, but he's a great guy. He's very trustworthy. He loves his family, and is a good father and husband, so he does quite well with that philosophy. The next type is what they call the subjective form of development, where you subject yourself to a fixed philosophy that has specific parameters, and anything outside those parameters is not considered to be part of that religious experience. The next type is co-development, which is what most spiritualists are. We believe in us, ourselves, and our own spirit, which is similar to the singular method, us and those around us and the experiences we have with them, and us and God with a direct communication. This is co-development. All aspects have a bearing on what we do. And our belief system is very flexible. The principles that we have are to be taken as suggested guidelines. They're not commandments that can't be broken. They're suggested guidelines for living, and you take them as you understand them. Today I'd like to speak a little bit about things to cultivate and things to avoid. And this comes right out of the Spiritualist manual, most of it. Some of the things to avoid, the primary one, English is my friend. The primary one that I feel that we should avoid is gossip. This is the mental habit of discussing one's neighbor with a total disregard for the actual realities of the case. It's destructive in its tendency because of the disturbed mental atmosphere it creates. It's a habit of pointing out petty imperfections of others and enlarging upon them. Its antidote is pointing out the goodly qualities of others, learning the art of being kind. I remember I have a Catholic upbringing, and in one of the Sunday services, the priest was telling a story about in Catholicism there's a sacrament of contrition where you go to and confess your sins once a week, hopefully. They suggest once a day, but once a week is acceptable. And you tell the Father all the things that you've done that you feel transgressed on the law of God and the Bible. And they give you absolution through so many prayers, and you have an act of contrition and swear not to do it again. One of the priests speaking at the Sunday service was talking about someone who had come to him and confessed the gossip. And the contrition act that they had to do was to go up to the second story of their house, dump out a down pillow full of feathers in a wind, and then go pick them all up. And the person said, well, Father, that's impossible to go find all those feathers. And he said, so too is it to retract all of the damage done by gossip and bad rumors spoken about people. So I thought that was kind of an interesting analogy of how far that kind of thing can go. Because you find people speaking about people they don't even know in either positive or negative light, where they've never even met the person. So gossip is a very destructive thing. Jealousy is another primary one, and these are all usually traits that are driven by your instincts of survival, of being a human being. A lot of these things are. Jealousy is suspicion gone mad. It is the insanity of the third degree. Like suspicion, it is a diseased state of mind and generates poison in the system of the one who harbors it. Jealousy is the Frankenstein who knows no innocence, who sees no virtue, who recognizes no justice, and believes no truth. It is the antithesis of love. Its antidote is faith, confidence, and love. As I said, most of these things are driven by our instincts. Sometimes eons ago, when the instinct of survival blossomed into the rest of our persona, it convinced the body that its thought of who it was had to survive as much as the physical flesh had to survive. As a result, people with little spiritual discipline, little conscious connection to God, tend to react very strongly and very violently in some cases when you challenge the thought of who they are. Jealousy is one where we look at someone who has something that we kind of wish we had and have to convince ourselves that they don't deserve it because we're good people. And if it was because they were a good person that they had it and they didn't steal it or take it unwantedly, we would have that in our lives already, wouldn't we? That's how jealousy works. And it says here that the antidote is love. And I'd like to read a little something, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm quoting it from until after I read it. Love is patient and kind. It is not jealous and boastful. It is not puffed up or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Love does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices at right. Love bears all things, believes all things, and hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. That quote is from the 1 Corinthians chapter 13 out of the Bible. things to embrace. Courage. Do not whimper and whine because it seems a long time before you get your growth. Each day is a day of growth and great development. Is the sum total of the steps taken in the days that have been. One of these days you'll wake up and find yours has arrived. Meet the world with a smile and unafraid, and do the best you can, and let the world grow if it must. That's a lot of things that courage allows us to wake up and meet the challenges of the day. It allows us to be self-defined and self-assured of who we are. When we have courage, a saying comes to mind that I've heard a number of times: what you think of me is none of my business. Our courage allows us to be defined and be self-assured of who we are, where we are, and what we are, regardless of what anyone else tells us. Now, my genetic line has that expressed to a very difficult degree called stubbornness. So you kind of got to temper it between stubbornness and courage. And every one of my family members has that innate stubbornness, so you can imagine how family gatherings go. But with courage, it's something you just want to sit and feel within your body in the morning. Have the ability to go out and meet the day. Think of positive things as the day begins to unfold. Anyone can feel and find the things that are wrong with things. Anybody with eyes, ears, and a brain, half a brain, can see what's wrong with something. That's human nature, to find what's wrong with it. A spiritual person sees the right in things. As the quote said, love rejoices in right. That's what a spiritual person does, is they try to see the right of a situation. It doesn't mean they ignore the wrong of it, but they try to see the right of it also. And I remember my father, when I was growing up, he told me, he said, every problem you bring to me, you need to have two solutions for it. He says, I don't care if they're the stupidest solutions alive. You're going to learn to think solution-oriented, not just problem-oriented. Two solutions with every problem you bring to me. And that's how I grew up from the time I was old enough to think and reason. Of course, he was a little difficult when he was teaching me what was a good solution and what wasn't, but he got me thinking along the lines of solutions with problems. And that's a lot of what this is. As I said, don't ignore the difficulty or the wrongness of a situation, but don't let that be what binds you to it. Don't let that be what drives your decisions. Take it in as part of the overall package. See the balance of what's good and what's right. And that all goes back to my thought for the day with personal responsibility. Personal responsibility allows you to draw a line and say, what's on this side of the line is mine, and what's on that side of the line isn't. It doesn't say, oh, I'm responsible for everything that happened, and I'm the reason for everything that went wrong. If somebody says to you, and you're having a discussion with them, they say, well, you said that. Well, yeah, I did say that. You're right. I did say that. And draw the line there. Don't take responsibility for what they did because of what you said. That was their decision. That's their responsibility. So personal responsibility allows you to draw that line and shoulder what's yours and let go of what's not yours. It gives you that balance, which is what spirituality in your life does, is it gives you a balance and a sense of timing. It doesn't make you think thoughts you haven't thought before, give these profound solutions out of the blue. It allows you to think the right thing at the right time and the right degree. Another thing to embrace is silence. Do not make noise about your own growth. If you are growing, you don't have to tell folks. It will show. They can see it. Don't complain because the world doesn't understand you. You don't understand yourself yet. Use your energy in getting together with yourself, finding out who you are and what you do, then do it. And that goes back to what I said, if you're inspired and you don't know what to do or say, don't say or do anything. Sit in the silence. Take that time to be inspired, to know what the right of things is, or at least feel reasonably sure what the right of things is. I know most of you know that my son has had quite a time, and he came to me for advice about his life. And everybody in the family was telling him to do this one thing because he's had a lot of difficulty with his significant other and his child. And I had my own opinions, and they weren't what he was wanting to do. And rather than telling him what I wanted him to do, I said, Michael, what you need to do is what you're going to be able to live with 5 years from now when you look back on this. What you find is comfort for you. What you find is acceptable to you. Because 5 years from now, when you think about this, you're going to be the only one thinking about it. Not all these people that got all this advice. Not me, not your mom, not your sister, not your uncles. You, by yourself, in the silence of your own home, are going to deal with the decision you make about this. So do what you can live with 5 years from now when you look back on it. Even though I wanted to tell him something totally different, that's what God inspired me to tell him. So it seemed to have worked pretty well. And that's where you don't interfere with God's will in other people's lives. You help God's will unfold in other people's lives, not your will, God's will. You find yourself not having to take on responsibility for other people's decision when you do that. You find yourself being happy about being involved with people socially that are in difficult situations because you're expressing God's will and not your personal will. I remember my first wife, her father was very much a visionary and written up in a lot of books and magazines and newspapers and had stories and stuff written about him because he was a reincarnationist. And he could see people's past lives. And he saw that he found that, but through a couple of his reincarnation readings, he told these people that they lived across the street from in the first or second century from these buildings. And the streets were still there, but the buildings were gone. And this one building that they had been searching for that had been mentioned in different writings had had other buildings built on top of it. And he said that that building was there under the existing building in the reincarnation reading. And they actually found that building by his vision in Rome. Really interesting. They wrote him up all over the place. The purpose for me telling you this is that when it came to him being a father, and he tried to speak from vision to me about his daughter, it was kind of obvious that there wasn't much spirit in it and a lot of dad in it. So you got to be careful about confusing spiritual vision with my vision. You have to really be sure that it's God's guidance. And I've been asked a lot of times of how you tell when it's God's guidance or when it's your own mind. God's guidance tends to be very quiet. It's like a whisper on a spring, a whisper in the morning of frozen snow. It's quiet, it's gentle, and it just seems right. There's no decision about it. It's as clear when it's said, and you know it's right when you hear it. There's no debate about it. That's how you tell God's voice in your mind. If you're sitting there going, oh, gee, should I really do that? Oh, gee, shouldn't I do that? Probably your mind in there. I'm going to back up and ask again. Like I said, if you think that in your own mind, it can't be that simple. That's another guideline that it's probably the real thing to do. The whole path that we walk with spirituality is an inward one. It's not an outward one. It is one where we task ourselves and review what's going on with ourselves. What's going on with us is the only thing that we can change. What's going on in our mind is the only thing that we have influence over. That's where all change takes place. Too many times, one on a spiritual path is bumped off of it because of something somebody did or something someone said or something that happens, and they don't feel that it's justified that it happened to them. I was helping somebody with a tore-up tire and a stripped-out lug nut by the roadside, and the person was saying, look at this. This is on top of everything else today. So I stopped and I was trying to get roadside assistance from my relatives. And I was calling roadside assistance, and I was having a heck of a time getting them to come out. I called them the first time and they sent somebody out and they said, oh, the lug nut strip. I said, I told them that. Well, I can't help you. Off they go. This is on a Saturday afternoon in a bike week when all the tow trucks are really occupied. So they send somebody else out here and he calls me about halfway there and he goes, oh, I see the lug nut strip. I said, yeah, that's what I told them. I can't help you. Off they go. This is 2 hours into a downtime on a Saturday. The third guy comes out and he says, well, we're going to have to tow it to a place to get it fixed. So I told the person that was sitting there with me, I said, what did I do that God's punishing me for helping you? I said, I've had a heck of a time here. I said, life sometimes is just life. Things happen to everybody, good or bad. Things happen in your life that just are there. It's not an indication that you're doing things right or wrong. It just happens sometimes. I'll leave you with a story of the baby eagle. I know some of you have heard this before. The baby eagle that falls out of his nest into a barnyard. And the mama chicken there takes him along and takes him into the brood just like he's one of her baby chicks. And so for months, they're going around the barnyard scratching and pecking at the ground and doing what chickens do. And one day he looks up and he sees these eagles flying overhead with their majestic wings out. And he goes, wow, wouldn't it be wonderful to fly like that? And the fellow chick looks at him and goes, oh, you're a chicken, just keep scratching, man, that's what we do. So he went back to scratching. The moral of the story is you can fly like an eagle or scratch with the chickens. It's your choice. You have the ability. Thank you for listening.